Let's unlock meditation's inner peace secret technique. We have been lied to. Concentration is not mindfulness. Concentration will make your worst nightmares come true. How is that? How could that work? Concentration will excite your fear and aggression center at the bottom of your brain. This is just one of many perils of embracing a yang worldview. Which include being rigid, fearful, oopsie, let's get a little more fancy here, which include being rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. There we go. That was sufficiently fancy. The opposite, of course, would be the path of the peace of yin, the path of being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. Now, if you're like me, and your first introduction to the spiritual path was at the hands of those who were rigid, who were orthodox, who were fundamentalists, they might have told you fairy tales about the magic of concentration being able to transform. But that's just something they tell people, appealing to their greed and dragging them deeper into the swamp of the fundamental duality of pushing and pulling. It's a fairy tale that doesn't work. A paper lion with no teeth. Here is how the whole Megillah really works. Here is how to have mindfulness that gets the job done while keeping us peaceful. The key to mindfulness is inhalation. Every time we inhale, we access our sympathetic nervous system, which is ensconced within our spinal cord in the thoracic region. That's the part that correlates with our rib cage. It is not wired for active concentration, but instead to merely perceive, and to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. As is reflected in the 12-syllable recitation, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. One of the most efficient ways of effortlessly and gently tuning in to the three-ring circus of the present moment is to simply play with words. For instance, during your inhalation, if you were to silently and mentally recite, "Notice this," you would find yourself more tuned in to what was going on. Now, sometimes we tune in and we don't like what's on the metaphoric television set. We want to change channels. So we find ourselves in resistance. And we find ourselves in resistance to the absence of what we desire. We find ourselves in resistance to the presence of what we hate. Now, our job is not to stop hating that which is bad for us. Our job is not to stop craving that which is good for us. Our fundamental wiring is to the contrary of that. And so to try to change that would be a fool's errand. Instead, we use non-dualistic labels to help us transcend our resistance to the present moment, whether that moment is glorious or grotesque. So for instance, when I say a non-dual label, instead of saying ugly or beautiful, we would say appearance. Instead of saying discordant or melodious, we would say resonance. Instead of saying pleasurable or painful, we would say sensation. Instead of saying delicious or disgusting, we would say flavor. Instead of saying fragrant or appalling, we would say we just use the word fragrance. You get the basic idea, I hope. Same thing. Instead of talking about painful or pleasurable emotions, just emotion. Instead of talking about malevolent or benign intentions, just intention. Instead of talking about sharp or dull thoughts, just cognition. Instead of talking about pleasant or painful memories, just recollect. Instead of dealing with inspiring or discouraging fantasies, just imagine. And so by playing with one of these 12 labels, we're able to take the edge off, not the experience, but our resistance to it. But of course, I'm forgetting a major counterpart: meditation. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we access our parasympathetic nervous system, also ensconced within our spinal cord, but this time in the lower lumbar region as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. It is wired for both physical relaxation as well as mental release, as is exemplified by this 12-syllable recitation, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. So, in essence, as we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, such as the sky. We're not saying that things actually are empty or birthless or deathless or selfless. We're just saying they feel that way when we relax into our exhalation. And so it turns out our job is not to actively concentrate and then actively disbelieve what we just concentrated upon. Our job is the opposite: to notice passively, vulnerably, viscerally, and randomly whatever cartwheels across the stage of our mind, be it glorious or grotesque, interesting or boring. And as we exhale to relax and release and let go, and the great irony is that this incredibly easy method is the Buddha's path. It is the quick path. Full enlightenment can be accomplished. Complete mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path can be attained in only 7 days. Of course, that reminds me of that song by Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show. In just 7 days, I can make you a man. So I look forward to chanting and meditating with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent more than 8 hours a day, every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. This morning, as with last night, we're going to play with the sadhana version of the Song of Enlightenment written by Yong-jia Xuan-jue in the 6th century, if my memory is correct. This is Red Pine translated this from the Chinese into the English, and I've merely adapted it and amplified it as best I could. So we're going to begin by exercising the neural pathways responsible for empathetic bodhicitta and enthusiastic refuge. We're going to play with 2 recitations. The first is more literal, and we're going to set it to a triplet chant together. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on thee. Buddha's example, instructions, and students. These 3 nouns are so important that they've earned the metaphoric nickname of the 3 wish-fulfilling jewels, kind of like Aladdin's lamp. For our final premeditation recitation, we're going to play with the same ideas, but in a more figurative and concise format, setting it to a bookend chant together. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. As children, our first bicycle most likely had training wheels, and although they were clunky, they got the job done. Similarly, this morning's first meditation is going to be clunky, but it's going to get the job done. Consider these two 12-syllable recitations. During the inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. During our exhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. These are not affirmations, for affirmations deal with beliefs and fantasies. This is a reality. These phenomena are actually occurring in real time in coordination with our respiration. We recite them to become aware of them and to make peace with them, and then to even embrace them. The turbulence of mind is not an indictment. It is the key that unlocks the prison cell of your mind. Together, let's practice. Now, at last, let us begin with the first verse of the Song of Enlightenment. Together, let's chant. Do you not see idle followers of the way, not studying, not busy, not getting rid of delusions, not looking for the truth? The true nature of their ignorance is the Buddha nature. Their illusory empty bodies is the Dharma body. The Dharma body they realize does not include a thing. Their original nature is the primordial Buddha. The five skandhas hold by clouds floating aimless in the sky. The three poisons are mere bubbles appearing then gone. And this is the essence of enlightenment. Appearing as we breathe in and as we relax into our exhalation, gone like a puff of smoke. So what is real but person? Take two. Seeing what is real but not persons or things, they instantly quench the fires of hell. Meanwhile, those who deceive others with lies spend kalpas having their tongues torn out. So this is a disgustingly vivid imagery, just contrasting those who practice the quick path and those who denigrate the quick path. The quick path saying, hey man, you can do it in a week. Without being superhuman, practicing just an hour or so every 12 hours or so. Instant understanding is Tathagata meditation. Every practice and perfection is present in your body. You don't need a PhD. You don't need blind faith. Thanks to the two facets of our autonomic nervous system, mindfulness and meditation are our birthright. The six paths of existence look real in a dream. Once you're awake, the whole universe is gone. Inhalation, exhalation. No punishments or blessings, nothing lost nor gained. As for the heart of nirvana, do not ask for directions. No punishments or blessings, we are transcending the duality of dread and desire. Regarding that unpolished, dust-covered mirror, it is time you took a closer look. When we read the Platform Sutra of the 6th Shan Patriarch, we learn that the people who are all about yang, the people who are all about being rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, competitive, cryptic, and cruel, had this idea. The mind is a mirror, defilements or dust, we must polish the mirror. To which he who would be the 6th patriarch said, no, there is no mind, there is no defilement, there is no one who polishes the mirror. Thereby, the 5th patriarch appointed that kitchen attendant the 6th patriarch, and everybody else tried to kill him. Welcome to the difference between yang and yin. Who has no thoughts, who is not born? What truly is not born is not born. Ask a mechanical man made of wood, how is the quest for Buddhahood coming? Our job is not to get lost in the pseudo-spiritual wordplay, nor to try to repress all our thoughts as if we were a tailor's mannequin or wooden Buddha statue. We come now to our second meditation, where we remove the first of 2 metaphoric training wheels, reducing the number of syllables in our exercise from 12 down to 3. During our inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, notice this, and during our exhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, relaxing. There will be moments when we feel intense resistance to our circumstance or our body or our relationships or our mind. When that happens, playing with these 10 labels can help. They won't change the attributes we're resistant towards, but they will help us somehow to harness the kinetic energy, the momentum of the present moment. So for instance, if you were feeling physical discomfort and you did all that you could to adjust your posture to alleviate it, and it persists, and of course you've done what you can with diet and medicine and doctors and whatnot, after a while you're out of options. During your inhalation, you could silently and mentally recite sensation, and during your exhalation, you could silently and mentally recite relaxing. Please remember, your job is not to perfectionistically agonize trying to find the perfect label in the shortest amount of time. We're allowed to make mistakes. Life is messy. We were born naked, screaming, and covered in goo. meditation is messy. We're allowed to have a shallow learning curve. These teachings are so powerful, elitists try to make them restricted in Tibet. But in the Nirvana Sutra, it is said the Buddha taught as he lay dying, I have taught with an outstretched arm and an open hand, keeping no secrets. Beware of those who speak of restricted texts and forbidden practices reserved for special people. Let your grip on the material. Sorry, let's try this again. Let go your grip on the material world. In the heart of Nirvana, eat and drink your fill. You can enjoy the world without chasing the world or fling from the world. Who can forget that line from Altered Carbon? We are emissaries. We accept what is given. Practices are ephemeral, everything is empty. This is the perfect enlightenment of the Buddhas. Speaking with conviction is a sign of a true monk. Those unable indulge in asking questions. Severing roots is what marks a Buddha. Picking through leaves and twigs is not for me. We are approaching enlightenment with broad brush strokes. Vulnerably noticing, viscerally relaxing. People do not notice the jewel among jewels, waiting for them in the Tathagata Garbha. Tathagata Garbha, or Buddha essence, or Buddha nature, is just a Iron Age way of referring to that which we refer to here in the Silicon Age as our sympathetic nervous system for mindfulness, our parasympathetic nervous system for meditation, and our anterior cingulate gyrus for empathy. Its sixfold power is neither empty nor not. It's perfect like neither visible nor not. Purify the five roots and acquire... Oopsie, did I make a mistake here? I guess I didn't. Purify the five roots and acquire the five abilities. Only then will you know what cannot be measured. An image in a mirror is not hard to see, but try to grab the moon in the water. Setting out alone, walking alone, those who arrive take the Nirvana road. Their appearance ancient, their manner detached, ragged and gone, they are not noticed. Disciples with that means they are called poor, poor in possessions, but not in freedom. Being poor, of course, they weep. Their practice is treasuring the jewel within. We come now to our third meditation session, where we remove the second of two metaphoric training wheels, reducing our meditation practice from 3 syllables down to just 1. During our inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. During our exhalation, we could silently and mentally recite the monosyllabic verb ease which functions as a synonym of relax. Clearly, transitioning three-syllable labels down to one-syllable labels requires a bit of the old poetic license. When you feel physical sensations, you could use the noun form. When you feel their emotional counterpart, you could use the verb feel. When you find yourself in memory, you could use the preposition then. When you find yourself in fantasy, you could use the verb dream. This priceless jewel with inexhaustible uses, it never withholds a simple response. The three bodies and four insides are present within. The 8 freedoms and 6 powers all mark the mind. Gifted people grasp at all concerning the way at once. Lesser minds hear but are not enthusiastic. Thinking about changing their clothes, they claim they are making progress. Superficial adjustments do not a Buddha make. Let people mock another, speak ill of you. Let them tire themselves out trying to burn the sky. Hearing the words is like tasting sweet dew. I swallow and suddenly enter the inconceivable. Being totally vulnerable to the present moment in the inhalation, and then relaxing during the exhalation. It's like jumping through a portal. In hateful words I say a chance for merit. They have become my closest advisors. Not letting ridicule make enemies of friends. I show the power of accepting nothing, that nothing is born. Birthlessness is not a belief to be grasped at. It's simply a metaphor for the visceral experience of relaxing into our exhalation. Know the wisdom, know those souls, do not over-focus on the emptiness of wisdom's light of perception, a cessation. Once again, inhalation and exhalation. This is not something I alone have learned. Countless Buddhas have realized this too. The lion roars and speaks without fear. Lesser beasts hear and cower in fright. Wild elements cease their rampaging ways. Sky dragons listen in silent rapture. Together as a team, let us meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo. When you catch yourself telling yourself a story or rehearsing a conversation, you could play with think ease. I have traveled great rivers, crossed mountains and streams, seeking teachers and masters to better understand meditation. Ever since taking the Cow River Road, I have discovered life and death have no hold on me. This is not based on belief, but on visceral experience, a metaphor of relaxing into our exhalation. Walking is meditation, sitting is meditation, speaking or silent, moving or still, I am at peace. Even in knife point I remain unmoved, even poisons cannot affect me. Before my teacher, the Buddha, met Dipankara. He spent kalpas as Kshanti the ascetic. How many births, how many deaths, birth and death go on without end. Since I certainly realize that nothing is born, I treat fame and shame the same. Just as only a sharp sword can solve the Gordian knot, it is only the simple practice of awareness and release mounted upon our inhalation and exhalation that serves as our spiritual panacea. I moved to a mountain and found a quiet place, deep and secluded beneath tall pines. An outsider monk, I enjoy sitting still. Sitting at last, I am truly at peace. I do not try to be a shit disturber. I wish to work well and play well with others. But most likely because of my neurodivergence, I am an outsider monk. I cannot help but process the teachings differently than most people, and am therefore unwelcome in most monasteries. I do not say this to boast, but just to let you know that the author of this text was also an outsider monk. So was Dojum Lingpa, so was Garab Dorje. Some of the great spiritual illuminators have been outsiders. But if what you want is an all-access pass to the old boys club, I can't help you with that. I can only help you to master the Buddha's teachings. Those who are awake do not engage in giving gifts. In a world of conditioned things, however, it is different. Giving alms are a good, but one is still attached to form. You may as well shoot an arrow into the sky. Its momentum sweat and arrow falls to earth, resulting in another disappointing life. Unlike the door to the real and unconditioned, once you step through, you are in the Buddha realm. I think the phrase I was looking for was all access pass. Not to be confirmed with the object from Fifth Element, or Sixth Element, I don't remember. Multipass. Multipass. So I forgot the name of that movie. If you remember the name of the movie, let me know in the chat window or the comment area. Ignore the tricks and look for the root. The jewel of the moon is in pure aquamarine. Once you grasp those wish-fulfilling pearl, its help to you and others never ends. Aha, that's what I was looking for. Moon on the river, wind in the pines. Why is the sky so clear all night? This verse reminds us that just because you're on the spiritual path and just because you've mastered the spiritual path doesn't mean your body will at times will not have a mind of its own. Sometimes you will have insomnia. Sometimes you'll be ill. But even in those difficult times, you will be able to practice and perceive the beauty around you, despite the turmoil within. The pearl of the Buddha nature precept marks the mind, mist and clouds shroud the body. My dragon subduing bold and my tiger calming staff, with his two rings echoing on the trail. It is not for pointing out the mundane, but for pointing out the tracks left by the Tathagata's precious staff. So this is not referring to fairy tales, but simply a metaphor. How a simple life subdues the dragon of craving. Once again, how the simple life subdues the tiger of aversion. Do not search for the truth and do not dismiss delusion. Realize both are empty and have no form. No form but neither empty nor not empty. That is the Tathagata's real form. Freedom from the pseudo-spiritual wordplay of the foolish. Nothing obstructs the mirror of the mind, illuminating a universe of countless realms, where millions of images appear, neither inside nor outside the perfect light, as is described in the Samantabhadra chapter of the Avatamsaka Sutra. As we sit in meditation, our minds can go into overdrive, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, emoting, intending, reasoning, recalling, imagining. This hyperactivity of the mind is not an indictment. It is nothing shameful. It is just something to notice and then relax into in harmony with our breathing. Saying everything is empty, they dismiss the laws of karma. Such recklessness is sure to bring misfortune. Renouncing existence for emptiness is the same as jumping into a fire to escape a flood. History is littered with individuals who justified cruel behavior with pious-sounding philosophies. The key to morality is loving kindness. The highest loving kindness is spontaneous and uncontrived. We access it automatically and effortlessly through our effective practice of mindfulness and meditation. That doesn't mean we will never make a mistake. That doesn't mean we'll never do things that other people think are mistakes. But if we persist on the path of noticing and releasing, we will have a steep learning curve, and we will always learn and always grow and always evolve. Letting delusions go and grasping the truth. The letting go grasping mind is a master of disguise. Students unaware who take this for the practice mistake a thief for the child. If we forsake noticing and only let go, not only will our breathing be lopsided and unsustainable, we will be practicing nothing more than a pseudo-spiritual version of aversion, which is an odd play on words. Just as a bird requires both its wings to take the sky, likewise, according to the South Indian Buddhist philosopher Nagarjuna, we require both mindfulness and meditation. Reducing your Lama wealth or cancelling your merit invariably results from discriminations of the mind. That is why in meditation we set the mind aside. We use the power instead of accepting that nothing is born. So I'm going to refer obliquely to a teacher. Please try not to guess their identity. A very prominent teacher recently passed who has many monasteries around the world. I think there's a total of 3. He's published many books and has many ardent followers. I lived for a time at one of his monasteries, searching for an easier path than I was on, a quicker path than the one I was on. In his monastery, the method he taught was not mindfulness and meditation, but belief, faith, and contemplation, which are the opposite. Faith is a rigidity of mind and emotion that is energy intensive. And when the energy wavers, as it invariably will, people's spiritual systems crash. The beauty of the Buddhist system is that it does not rely on faith. It does not rely on intelligence. It relies on the most fundamental facet of our central nervous system, our ability to breathe in and breathe out. As long as we're breathing, we're alive. As long as we're alive, we can practice the Buddha's path, regardless of our physical pain or emotional pain or circumstantial turmoil. I once had a student who was betrayed by a business partner and sent to jail over a long weekend on trumped-up charges. Before those charges were dismissed, the student had spent more than 72 hours in jail, and he told me he survived that adventure by practicing these easy, essential instructions. The great Bodhisattva holding the sword of wisdom with his Vajra blade and Vajra sword. Not only did he cut through the mind of heretics, he first entered martyrs' brazen ways. He shook his Dharma thunder and beat his Dharma drum. He spread his clouds of compassion and showers of sweet dew. The trampling of elephants covered the world with moisture. Whatever the path or lineage, everyone woke up. Himalayan butter with nothing added, it alone produces my favorite ghee. The nature that pervades all natures, the Dharma that includes all dharmas. Well, that was super allegoric. What is he referring to? Clearly not a shopping list. So here's how it works. In an agrarian culture, the plants upon which the cattle graze influence their milk and the butter or ghee made thereof. So his favorite ghee comes not from a special process or special seasoning, but it happens spontaneously based upon the plants the cattle were grazing upon. That's a deliciously, forgive the word choice. That's a deliciously oblique way of saying that the greatest results come from the most easy and natural process, like noticing vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly as we breathe in, and as we breathe out, physically relaxing and mentally releasing. This easiest of practice is also the most powerful and the most quick. There is a lie we've all been fed. That which is most difficult is most beneficial, but that is not always the truth. In a sister manuscript composed on the other side of the Himalayas, in approximately the same period that this was composed, Prahe Vajra wrote in the Swat Valley, the path is easy. It is difficult because it is easy. In other words, we resist an easy path, oddly enough. A single moon is reflected in every drop of water. Every water drop moon is held a single moon. Let's see here. Quick edit. Looking for the old insert button. Okay, let's begin at the top of the page. A single moon is reflected in every drop of water. Within every water drop moon is held a single moon. Every Buddhist Dharma body is my nature. My nature is one with every Tathagata. And we plug into that nature every time we physically relax and mentally release in harmony with our exhalation. Every time we are in autopilot. At every stage, all stages are present, but not in form or mind and not in what you do. Snap your fingers and countless Dharma doors appear. 3 kalpas go by in an instant. As for all statements being no statements, that means nothing to this enlightened nature of mine. This is another reference to the deeds of Samantabandhara chapter of the Avatamsaka Sutra. Some translators refer to it as the 39th chapter, others as the 40th chapter. It cannot be slandered and it cannot be praised. Like space, it has no boundaries. It is never not present and always clear, but look and you cannot see it. This is a theme found also in the total space of Vajrasattva, the source text of Dzogchen. The path is not practiced actively, but passively. How do we notice? Vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. You cannot grasp it and cannot let it go. When you can find it, when you cannot find it, that is when you will find it. And of course, that reminds me of the scene from the first Ghostbusters movie after they were scared. After they were investigating the basement, or while they were investigating the basement of the library, and Bill Murray's character gets some ectoplasm on his fingers, and he can't shake it off, and so he starts wiping it on the books and the shelves. Let me know if you remember seeing that movie way back in '84. People ask what is the source of my understanding. I tell them the power of great wisdom. If it is right or wrong, nobody knows. If it makes sense or not, the gods cannot tell. I have been practicing this for kalpas, and not just to make people confused. This ridiculously easy practice. The test of this practice is not found in intellectual or pseudo-intellectual treatise, but upon its effect upon our peace and our love. There is a phrase that's popular in Tibet: timelessness or timeless awareness. As we relax into the three-ring circus of the now, everything else seems trivial. Flying the Dharma flag, announcing the school's doctrine. Clearly the Buddha's teachings is at Shaoxi. Kashyapa was the first to transmit the lamp, the first of 28 generations in the West. The test of a teacher is not what people say about them, good or bad. The test of a teacher is how effective their instructions are when you apply them. If you apply someone's instructions and it makes you twice as miserable as them, find a better teacher. The Dharma traveled east and reached this land. Bodhidharma was Alpha's patriarch, the first of 6 to wear the robe and spread the word. Those who understood later were countless. We do not define the truth, the legions are already empty. We define what is and what is not, but we do not empty emptiness. It's 20 different kinds of art nor concern of us. We share the universal Tathagata nature. Let's not get bogged down in pseudo-intellectual trivia. The mind is a sense organ and objects are its sensation. Thinks of them as streaks in a mirror. And light finally shining when the streaks are gone. Forget the mind and objects, it is your nature that is real. We taste of the nature every time we relax and release. It is an evil age and the dharma is ending. People are not happy and lack self-control. Ignoring the sage, they prefer mistaken views. Mara becomes stronger as their hatred multiplies. Hearing about the Buddha's sudden teaching, they wish they could grind into rubble. Those upon the path of Yang are resentful of those upon the path of Yin. Those practicing an arduous path have contempt for those practicing an easy path. What the mind creates, the body suffers or injures. No need to claim injustice or shift the blame. If you are hoping to avoid karma's endless fires, do not criticize the Tathagata's true teaching. In other words, embrace the easy path. So, in a larger context, what's going on here, what the mind creates, the body suffers, this is not a general statement. This is not victim blaming. This is not saying, hey dude, you were gang raped because, you had it coming. Malarkey! This is talking about the people on the slow path, lamenting that the path is slow, thinking that their suffering is doing them great good. It isn't. Choose the Buddha's easy path. How do we know the Buddha had an easy path? When we read the Satipatthana Sutta in the Pali language, written in the Pali language, now translated into English, the second to last passage clearly states enlightenment. The Buddha's path can be mastered in a week. A week. In a forest of nothing but sandalwood trees, where it is lush and remote lions dwell. In the sylvan wood crieth the roam where they will. Other beasts and even birds keep the distance. So I want to put a little parenthesis here. Let's continue. But first I got to make sure that the screen is still copacetic. Lion cubs all trained behind. By the time they are through, they can roar. Foxes who follow the Dharma king. After lifetimes of mischief, they can only yap. A good teacher is not a tyrant. They will not grab you by the lapels. They will not shake you like a French au pair. They will not try to police what you do or say or think. But we will reap the results of our actions. If we choose to eat sticks of butter as opposed to fruits and vegetables, we're going to have health problems. If we choose to ignore the teacher's instructions, The only person that's going to punish you is yourself. You just won't have the peace and love that you desire. Simple as that. The sudden teaching is free of sentimentality. As long as doubt remains, arguments follow. This mountain monk is not just banging his drum. He cares who might fall into the trap of nothing, into the nothing or forever trap. So, the doubts. So what is being embraced here? Is not believing or disbelieving or proving or disproving, but simply testing the teachings in the laboratory of our body and mind and noticing the results. No, yes or not, yes. To miss by an inch is the same as 1,000 miles. Yes, and the dragon maiden suddenly became a Buddha. No one soon Nakshatra fell into hell alive. I learned a lot when I was young. I read sutras and shastras and studied commentaries. The names and terms never seemed to end. Like counting sand in the sea, it was such a waste of effort. Scolded by the Tathagata, what good is counting others' treasures? I realized all my efforts had been in vain, all the years I had wasted braving dust and wind. Misguided from the start by understanding wrong, I did not know how the Buddha's sudden teaching worked. Why devotees of lesser past did not see the way. One unbelievers may be clever but not wise. They are so foolish, so stupid, pointing to the palm to explain what is real. Mistaking a finger for the moon, turning objects of the senses into ghost stories. Who does not see a thing as a Tathagata, hence the name looking from on high. So that seems like a contradiction. You have seeing and not seeing, perceiving and releasing the perception. And those who understand are free of karmic burdens, those who do not settle all debts to pay. A hunger that keeps them from enjoying even a royal meal, a sickness even a great physician cannot cure. There are benevolent entities all around us who wish to give us medical care, who wish to give us food, clothing, shelter, and the like. Yet still we suffer the flames of hell, metaphorically speaking, in this life, not because there are not kind people who wish to help us, because we will not notice and will not release. Thus, we are the architects of our own anguish. To meditate despite desire is the power of prajna, and why a lotus is not burned in fire. Yong-jia committed crimes and realized nothing is born. He became a Buddha and is still one today. When the lion roars its fearless teaching, it pities confused, obstinate fools who only see offenses that perfect Buddhahood. Blind to the secret they Tathagata revealed. Let's have some history. The Buddha was raised in the warrior caste, not the priestly caste. The Buddha, before he was the Buddha, when he was still Gautama, did not spend his life studying philosophy, meditating, and trying to be perfect. He was a prince in the palace of a king whose ancestors did not earn power. They were not so righteous that the gods gave them power. No, these were greedy bastards who violently stole power and kept it from themselves, and then dominated their subjects to serve them. Leaders are seldom sweet and kind people. This was a fellow who was raised with every pleasure of priestly life, every debaucherous indulgence, sexual and sadistic alike. He was in the warrior caste, for God's sakes. And yet it was not a priest who discovered enlightenment and shared it with the masses. It was a member of the warrior caste who circumstances conspired to remove his head from the warm, dark place he'd been keeping it and help him see a better way of living. He went from the debauchery of the palace to the asceticism of the forest, and then eventually he found the middle path. I've settled that to say this. As is mentioned several times in this text, obsessing over the minutiae of rules does not a Buddha make. Practice this easy path of noticing, releasing, and then flowing from love-centered spontaneity, and everything will work out very well. Two monks were guilty of crime, so Jasrupali with his firefly light. Layman Vimalakirti dismissed their tasks as monthly snow. Inconceivable is the power of liberation, its uses as countless as the Ganges sands. Who would not give every possible offering, such as 10,000 ounces of gold? But even one's flesh and blood would fall short. The unsurpassed king of all dharmas, realized by more Buddhists than Ganges has grains of sand. This wish-fulfilling jewel I have revealed. May all who accept it do the same. Let us not keep secrets. Look around, there is not a thing. There are no people, there are no Buddhas. All the worlds in the universe are like bubbles in the sea. All the sages and worthies are like mere lighting. Even if an iron were rolled across my skull, meditation wisdom's light would still shine. Okay. The sun turned cold and the moon turned warm. Not even an army of demons can destroy the truth. When an elephant pulls her cart up a mountain, has anyone seen a mantis block its way? Elephants do not follow rabbit trails. Enlightenment is not confined by minor rules. Do not vilify the sky when you are looking at it through a reed. If you still do not understand, this is for you. Now let us seal our practice with some universal well wishes. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness was spontaneous and uncontrived. May everyone be free from misery, may everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 9 2/3 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tonight's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.